Hello everyone and welcome your faces back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Little Nightmares 3 and more specifically 6 and if she will appear in Little Nightmares 3. But of course, before we get into it, I just want to mention that of course we do cover Little Nightmares on the channel pretty extensively alongside Proper Playtime and other things, but we do make theories and of course explain videos and basically a lot of things very Little Nightmares centered. So if that tickles your fancy and you do like a bit of Little Nightmares content, the subscribe button should be around somewhere on your screen. Make sure you click it with the bell on and that'll give you a notification of when I next upload my Little Nightmares videos. And again, really appreciate it if you could hit subscribe, but we're trying to hit 100k this year, so again, I'd be very appreciative of that. But of course, with that out the way and the shameless self-promotion done, let's actually get into the video. So as you can probably tell, this is again another talky type video. I actually quite enjoy this content, not gonna lie. It feels a bit more personal, getting to talk to specifically you and of course the topic. And with the lead up to Little Nightmares 3, I think it's quite nice. It's like a more irregular sort of point of view and things like that. And yeah, I think it's just got a nice little essence to it, if you will. Now, interestingly enough, got on the topic the other day because I recently put out a Twitter post, or an X post, or whatever you want to call it these days. I will link my Twitter in the description, and I just tweet random stuff every now and then. And I tweeted about the fact that, and again, I don't know if this is something that might interest you as a topic. Do you see 6 as the face of Little Nightmares anymore, or have you ever, or you know, is 6 the sole reason why you're interested in Little Nightmares and things like that? And I basically tweeted that I don't see 6 as the face of Little Nightmares anymore, especially with all these new sort of different directions Little Nightmares is going as a whole. I pretty much steered away from it, and it did bring up a very few interesting discussions, and I must say they are very well thought and they're very thorough. But I am very interested to see what you would say. So in the comments below, let me know what you think about that. And it got me thinking about, of course, 6 being in 3 and how that would play out if it's plausible and why they would do it if it is. And so the quick rundown of what I think is going to happen in regards to 6's appearance coming into Little Nightmares 3. I do feel that we're gonna possibly... I'm very iffy, because again, new studio, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. Because, of course, we've had little nods to 6 throughout the whole franchise. And I think for a while she was perhaps the face of Little Nightmares, don't get me wrong. I do agree to it to some extent. But again, the more media's coming out, the more it seems that, you know, they're steering away from 6. But for Little Nightmares 1 and 2, yes, I do agree. I think she was very much the face of it. And it's interesting to think that you could tie it to literally Tarsia's side of Little Nightmares. That 6 was sort of the main one for Tarsia, Mono, and of course the comic kids that we never actually got to see in game, but we saw in the files. And of course then we get also Alike Studios, who did the Very Little Nightmares game, who of course have Raincoat Girl with the pigtail, and of course 6 was also in there. But yeah, she was heavily suggested in Very Little Nightmares and Alike Studios version. But for me personally, I hope, or I wouldn't be massively upset if I didn't see her going forward. And as they've stated, Low and Alone is a brand new story, and again, fits very nicely with the fact that Supermassive Games are taking the reins. They're a new studio, they want to tell a different story, of course, within the world of Little Nightmares. But it is a different spiral completely. See what I did there? It's a different sort of approach completely. And I think it is a safe bet to assume that they are going to focus going elsewhere. Again, I wouldn't massively be upset if I didn't see 6. I would understand if she wasn't there. Makes sense. And I also would understand if she did appear. But I don't think, and I reckon people are 50-50 in about if she's going to be just the odd moment, or you know, a big part of Little Nightmares 3. And I believe in an interview recently, Coralie did say that you might see like connections from the past or in present, blah blah blah, or something along that line. And the fact we are going to be able to put 2 and 2 together with certain parts of the story. But what makes me more intrigued about that is the fact that when they did mention that part, I believe in the same video, they did say you can jump in at any point to Little Nightmares 3, not having to know the story prior for it to then become very clear to you as a player. And it brings me over to my next point. Like, I don't think 6 is the main point anymore. I believe they're steering heavily away from 6, and I think Tarsia were doing that on Little Nightmares 2 anyway. I just think having 6 as a sort of companion was a very safe way to expand still. Because, of course, I think a lot of people were upset about Mono taking over 6 in Little Nightmares 2, but people grew to love Mono, and, again, absolute vital part of the games now, I believe. I think Mono's story is probably just as intriguing as 6 going forward. And, again, I think all like that might be the case for Low and Alone as well. I think their stories are going to absolutely really captivate us going into Little Nightmares 3, and the more we learn about them, the more they get. Well, we won't forget 6 and Mono and the Runaway Kid and stuff like that, but we'll sort of store them again, like we did with Little Nightmares 2 and things like that. But I believe it brings me back to my original point that I was making. I don't see 6 as the face of Little Nightmares anymore. Again, let me know what you think about that, because I feel it, but I'm very on the fence with it. Like, I don't like saying it out loud because it does kind of hurt the soul to say that. It sort of seems like they're going in this direction, especially with, of course, the DLC. Well, the DLC that we assume is a DLC that we didn't get in the Little Nightmares 2 files from all the comic kids and stuff like that. It seems like they were ready to expand the story a long time ago. But again, it brings me to my main point that I keep trying to get to, and it's that I generally don't think that 6 is the face of it anymore. I mean, the eye symbol is a good example. I think that's a very good shout as well, but I think it's more than that. I think the real Little Nightmares, of course, is the Nowhere, and I believe it's the Nowhere as a collective is that has become like the face of Little Nightmares to me. Like, I think of the Nowhere now, and I think of all of these horrible stories that these children have gone to and gone through, and of course I believe, well, we know that the ferryman has to, of course, bring these children across. So it's almost for me that Little Nightmares now is more about the ferryman and the Nowhere, and not necessarily specific children's scenarios. Again, they make great stories, and of course that's why we experience them and play them, because we fall in love with these kind of like scenarios and the way they present them and things like that. But I think Little Nightmares now is much bigger than the few stories that we've been told. You know, as to date, I think we've got about, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe around 5 different arcs of like children's stories that have led off in different directions, and again, they've all been explored in different media, and I think this is why I've come to the sort of conclusion that I don't think 6 is going to be the face of Little Nightmares anymore. I think, of course, she is probably the most iconic character of Little Nightmares, and you know, I think I was very close to doing or releasing a video in the last few months about what the raincoat could mean, and you know, the iconic yellow raincoat, and if it has really any meaning, and blah blah blah. Again, with all this new change in landscape and how it's like altering, I don't really feel that way about it anymore. Again, it might change with the release of Little Nightmares 3. It might change. We don't know how it's going to play out. We don't know if 6 is going to make an appearance, and we don't know if she's not going to make an appearance. But as we've seen previously, it's a good bet. But again, I'm still on the fence with it, to be honest. I would like to see her, but my day's not going to be ruined if I don't, is probably the best way to sort of explain it. And I think it's worth mentioning that part of the charm of Little Nightmares is the fact we don't get the answers to a lot of these stories. I mean, I think the most detailed we've ever had so far is the Sounds of Nightmares, and I think it's very, very vital that it had this sort of pivot, because we can't keep telling Six's story over and over again. I mean, I know a few people that I've asked this sort of like loose question to. I was like, how do you feel sort of about Six's story now? Are you sort of done with it? And a lot of them are very much like, I'm excited for what's coming. I'm excited for something new. Again, and I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's very nice to see Six again if we were, but I mean, it's not going to be a deal breaker for me anymore. And again, like I was saying, I think part of Little Nightmares' charm is the fact there's just so much mystery, and the fact that we don't get cut and dry answers. But yeah, I find it quite an interesting discussion, if you will. I'm intrigued to see what people say about it in the comments. Now, the Six fan club, please don't hate me. That's why I'm making the video, because I kind of want to see what people think about it, especially going into Little Nightmares 3. I'll be intrigued to see where people sort of sit with it. And again, like I said, I wouldn't be massively upset if I didn't see Six again. I'm not banking on Six coming back at all. Maybe like, I don't know, something small we might see, like a nod to Six or something. But again, it does look like at some point we're going to be back on the moor. I don't know exactly when, but you know, from the trailer of Little Nightmares 3, there are 2 instances in there that make me think we're going to be around the moor again. Of course, it's that walking down sort of the moor exterior, and then of course the bit with the pipes. I even think the pipes actually quite look moory, if that's a word, and it looks very much on theme for the moor. So I actually think perhaps we'd get more than one callback to the moor through Little Nightmares 3. Again, that'd be really interesting. I mean, it might make sense about all the mirrors and whatnot. Again, I really want to rewrite one of my original mirror theories, because again, that one was written like, I'm going to take a guess and say about like 4 years ago or something silly now. Maybe 5 actually. But again, we've got lots of content coming. I'm going to try to keep it consistent for everyone, because, you know, I'm very terrible at keeping things consistent. I've got a lot going on, alright? I'm not lazy. I'm not just got, like, sat here playing games. I have things going on. But yeah. As usual, thank you so much for sitting here with me talking rubbish. If you like Little Nightmares, make sure you hit like and subscribe, do all the usual stuff. And, you know, stay safe wherever you are in the world. I wish you nothing but the best, and keep yourself safe. And I'll see you all in the next Little Nightmares theory video. Bye.